Hello everybody. Ooh, I'm looking at the monitor. My monitor's slightly wonky. Let me put my monitor. Can we put my monitor a bit straighter so I can see me? There we go. Should be cool now. Okay, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody. How's everyone doing this afternoon? It's a Monday afternoon. Looking a bit posh, Andrew, today. Aren't I looking posh? Looking very suave and dapper. If everyone can hear me, we hear you. You know the rules. You know the drill by now. Everybody, if you can hear me, give us a thumbs up. And also Louise as well. Can you hear Louise?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, there we go. So if you can hear us all, that is absolutely fabulous. I'm going to take this off. Yeah, it looks a bit too bright, that isn't it? So I'm sorry we're a little bit later starting today. We've been interviewing for another member of the team. Andrew Berry's expanding and getting more staff because we're just inundated, aren't we? Mm-hmm. So before we start, we've made sure now that everyone can hear, which is fab. The other thing that we want to announce today is you'd be glad to know, regular viewers of our question and answer, you'd be glad to know that I have finally finished, no, not the druzy, the shell pendant that we cast during the 12-hour live stream. And I have it by here just to show you. So that you can't really see too close, really, can you? So
I did offer to model it.
You did. You would like to model it, Louise, for later on. All right, here is the little shell pendant that we cast during the 12-hour. Little ring on the back so the chain goes through, and there is the chain. How close can we go? There we go. Nice, very nice, Andrew, thank you. So that is the shell pendant finally finished. Now, you have got a chance of winning that shell pendant. Now remember, we did our 12-hour and all the money that we took from the special chat and so forth, super chat, went to Unicef. I'm glad we raised £1,300. And now what we're going to be doing is raffling off, not raffling off, yeah, we're going to raffle off, aren't we?
I suppose it is a raffle, isn't it?
In one respect, it is a bit of a raffle. What we're going to be doing is asking everybody to donate £2. I don't know what that would be in your particular currency, but it's just £2 to enter the little bit of a raffle to be able to win this little silver pendant. What's it worth? 70? 60, 70, 80 pounds, something like that?
The value of the pendant is whatever it raises for charity.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, isn't it?
That's
so
absolutely.
So if it raises £1,000 for charity?
It's worth £1,000. I
think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, fair enough. So it's up to you guys now to, if you want to be in with a chance of winning this, it's going to cost you £2 per entry. That's all we're doing. And we've been trying to work out ways that we can do this. And I think the best way that we have decided is to click on the link that Louise is going to put up a little bit later. Steady there, Louise, with your little itchy trigger finger. What we're going to be asking you to do is simply click on the link, and we're also going to put the link into the description underneath this film when it's been rendered and when this sort of goes live after this live session. And I'm also going to put it on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and all those sort of things. And there's going to be a link. Click the link, it takes you to PayPal, paypal.me/Andrew V. Berry. You then put in your amount, it's £2. You can put in whatever you want, but it's £2 we're asking you for £2. And that's it, isn't it? And then you just click, I will donate £2. You can choose whatever currency you want. Please choose it in pounds and put 2. So is it GBR? I think it's GBR, isn't it? GBP, Great British Pounds. £2 to be in with a chance of winning this little pendant. We're going to have your email address. That's all going to go into a spreadsheet. And like we did when we did the 12-hour, we're going to use the random generator to pick a winner from the list. Now, that's it. And have I forgotten anything, Louise, there?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay, so that's the idea. Have you put it up? Louise, no, push your finger on the button, and hopefully it will come up on the screen.
Oh, hang on.
There we go. PayPal.me, Andrew V. berry. Proceeds will go to UNICEF.
Oh, wait, why does it come out 3 times like that?
I don't know. I've just got 2. Proceeds going to UNICEF. Yep. So that is the idea for our shell I have finally got round to doing. It's going to cost you £2 to enter to be in with a chance of winning the shell pendant. I'll come to that a little bit later, and I'm sure throughout the next hour Louise will be putting the little link up. What else I've got to say? Is it meant to be a link? Yes, it is. Is it not a link, Louise?
PayPal.me.
Yeah, but can people click on it?
No. I rushed. I do apologise. Should I put HTTP?
HTTP.
Yeah, sorry folks.
/
No,
www.
Yeah. Let's try that.
I'll try that. Should we try that one? Okay.
We're
going to try again. Rewind. And Louise is going to press that button again.
Let's try again.
And we're going to see. Thank you for that. Whoever said, is it supposed to be a link? There we go. Click it, Louise. See what happens.
There we are. Shall I click on the
Click on the link. Where does it take you?
Yes.
Yes. There we go.
Thank you,
cool.
Romy.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Do appreciate it. Well done. So there's a little bit of a picture of the shell and a close-up detail. It looks absolutely fabulous. Haven't polished it too much, left some of the detail, the three-dimensional effect of the shell. Fantastic. And I expect you all saw, cool, thank you, Romy. You all saw our little bit of an introduction to Andrew and Louise's weekend workshop that is going to be hitting your YouTube screens in the autumn. A little bit of fun. If you haven't checked that out, go to our At The Bench's Facebook page. I think we put it on Instagram as well. I think we put it on Twitter, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you very much for everybody who watched that. That'll be coming in the autumn once we get everything all sorted out for that. You have to excuse the noise coming from the window. It is a blisteringly boiling hot day today. Have the window open because in the front studio, you may have seen on Instagram, we're actually going to be casting some acorns a little bit later, although not live on the screen here. So what with the heat coming from the kiln in that other room, it's absolutely sweltering. Where's the whiteboard? Where's the whiteboard? Where's the whiteboard? Good. I told you we've been rushing around today. Thought I'd retired the whiteboard.
Beautiful. Where's the Druzy Quartz?
We won't be going there with Druzy Quartz. Not today. My pants are stuck to me. Look, it's
People really need to know.
It's absolutely sweltering. Mike, whiteboard, all sorted. Now, thank you very much everybody who so far has donated. Lorraine, thank you so much, really do appreciate it. So there we go. So it is Monday, it is the 10th of August, and we're going to start our question and answer session. So, anything else to say, Louise, before we crack on?
I was going to just mention about the focus group for the Bench Essentials course.
Yes.
That is closed now to applications. Tonight, okay.
Close it in case people haven't done it.
Just pop the link for that back on as well. Do we still have the link for that? I'll pop the link back up for that now. And yes.
The focus group, yes.
And that closes tonight.
Midnight tonight.
And 2 weeks today we'll be announcing the 10 people who will be part of the focus group. So that's very exciting news as well.
Yes. Okay, there we go.
So that's the link for that.
It's very good. Gillian, I don't know why you're not getting a notice about the question and answer. I did put the question and answer up, I think it was last night. So you may have got a notification last night. I don't know why you haven't had a notification. I do apologise. It's something to do with YouTube and not me. Put that upon me, not on Louise, so we know where we're going. All right, then it's Monday start again. Monday, 10th of August, time for the question and answer session. Louise, do we have our first question, please?
We certainly do. Leslie is asking, do you have any inventive ways to set a round bead stone approximately 8mm? Could it be set on a basket setting or a claw setting of some description, ring or pendant?
Yes, it can be. You can make up, glad I got the whiteboard. So you've got your bead. And it's a nice shiny bead because that's the reflection from the window. All right, so there's my bead. So there's a few ways we can do this. You can, what I've done in the past is got some sort of semicircular pieces of wire, about 4 of them, and or even just make up perhaps, how can I explain it, like a big jump ring, but more of an oval, and then put it on a cross. So it's a cross. I'm not even going to be able to draw this because my drawing skills recently are absolutely atrocious. So we've got like 1 ring that goes that way and then 1 ring that goes that way. So that will go over. Yeah, does that make sense? So you have 1 ring coming this way, 1 ring coming that way. You squash the bead through it, and then you get your pliers and you just make a bit of a kink in the wire. So as you kink, when you grab onto the wire with the pliers, so say this is my wire, you grab your pliers, you grab onto the wire and you twist it so the wire comes down into that sort of shape. And by doing that, you're shrinking it and making the cage smaller and making the cage come around the bead itself. Okay, so that's a cage is one way. The other way to do it is to have claws, as you quite rightly said, and you can make up a claw sort of setting that looks something like that. Okay, so these claws have to be quite long. They have to be just over the half the diameter, otherwise the stone's going to come out. They have to be a little bit longer. You can then, if you wanted to, solder a ring on the outside as well around it to hold it in place. And then when the stone goes and drops into place, and here's your stone then coming around, these little claws then you push over onto the stone. So it does act as like almost like a cage, like a basket. The claws coming over the stone just that little bit higher, so they actually come over and trap the stone. So that is another way of doing it. The ring that I would put on the outside here is to stop the wires bending, because if you didn't have that ring and you just simply had the wires going up and around and they were just fastened in this spot, they're too flexible. They're going to move too much. So then I would then, as I said, solder the ring around, and you have the other wires going up behind that, like that, and this wire goes around. And that is the best way then to hold on to that. And then you've got basically like a very deep claw setting to be able to hold the stone in place. So there we go. I think that is going to be the best way to do it. This way, with this little wire, is what we used to do when we used to do a lot of sort of crystals, and to encapsulate crystals within a cage, is make the cage, tighten the cage, then by sort of crimping each wire that went top to bottom, and that would hold the stone in place. Ooh, it's hot. It's hot. Everybody okay? Everybody all right, Louise? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm very good.
Cooking with the heat? Oh, do I can.
Oh, that's very kind. Thanks. Did you shake it?
No, I wouldn't. If I did, the camera's on you now. All right then, Louise, what is the next question, please?
Okay. Marie? We see Marie in Wales.
Right.
Hi Andrew, can you please do an engraving series, basic tools, tips for beginners and a few tutorials for beginners? I really want to learn how to engrave and incorporate it in my jewellery works.
I certainly can do. I can certainly do the basic equipment, and I can sort of teach you and show you the basics. Oh, I'm going to be a little bit too close on me now. The basics of what is involved. I'm not an expert engraver. I'm not a very good engraver. I'm a bit of a... and I wouldn't sort of rely upon my skills to teach you everything to do with that, because I couldn't. So I can do a film certainly with all the equipment. We have all the equipment here and so forth, and we can go through all that and teach you how to hold the graver and how to move the graver and how to do the basics, and I can certainly do that for you. Louise, put that down into my ever-growing list.
I shall write it on the list.
The list.
Druzy Quartz is at the top of the list.
It is being done. That is Druzy Quartz in progress. Yes. Thank you everybody who's giving us the £2 donations. Really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate it. We are going to be emailing everybody who took part in the 12-hour live stream session. Those people who said they don't mind being contacted by ourselves with the information to do with the shell and with the link as well. So I think we had about 1,200, 1,300 email addresses,
gosh,
people who...
because we had to filter out the people who opted out of being contacted again.
Yes.
So, and obviously filter out any duplicates.
So I think there's over 1,000, isn't there? So I'm hoping that we got about 1,000 email addresses that we're going to be contacting regarding the shell. If we get 200, 250, 500, it'd be nice. Be nice to give some more money towards Unicef. And thank you everybody who has done that so far. All right then, Louise, what is the next question, please?
Okay, Mike Ham. I have to ask about shrinkage in moulds and castings. After moulding the wax is no longer 6 mil, what techniques do I use to fit the stone after casting and finish? Hope I'm asking this right.
Yeah, okay, so there is a certain amount of shrinkage when it comes to casting, and the shrinkage depends on how many stages you are going through. For instance, if you make a master, and from that master you have made a wax model to start off with. So say you make a 6mm hole in a wax model, and that's going to be then your master when you've cast it. You've got a certain amount of shrinkage to the master. Then if from the master you make a rubber mold, well, thank you. If you make a master from that rubber mold, if you make a rubber mold from the master, there's a bit of shrinkage. When you inject the wax into the rubber mold, there's a little bit of shrinkage. When you then lost wax from that wax that you've made from the rubber mold, do you know what? There's another little bit of shrinkage. So your 6mm hole could end up about 5mm, or perhaps even 5.5mm throughout the whole stages. The less stages you have, the less shrinkage you're going to have. So it just depends upon how many stages you're going through. If you're simply making up a wax, and from that wax you are then going to do a lost wax casting from that, the shrinkage is going to be hardly anything at all. And if you make a 6mm hole, what I would do is perhaps make it 6.1 or 6.2mm maximum. And obviously if you have a 6mm stone, it's going to go in and out of the hole a little bit too easy, but then you have to allow then for the shrinkage on the next stage. I don't think there's, people say there's like a percentage, perhaps there's a 1% or 2% or 0.5% shrinkage at each stage, but I think that really depends upon you, depends on how accurate your model making is, and also how you're casting it and so forth. So for instance, say you've made your 6mm round hole and you've cast it, and it is now, I don't know, 5.8mm. Well, then you're going to need some setting burrs, if that's what you're doing, is setting stones into it, to make it slightly bigger. And the setting burrs that I would buy, again, it depends upon you, depends upon your circumstance, would be straight-sided setting burrs. So the setting burr would look like that, and here's your teeth coming down here like this, and the teeth are going this way. Okay, so that's a straight-sided setting burr. You can get a 90-degree setting burr as well. So there is that there, and this is your burr that comes down. And here's your teeth like this, and then those teeth go up like that. So either one I would use, and then this diameter here then would be the correct size for your stone. So that's what I would use to perhaps enlarge your hole if you're going to be using it for stone setting. With a tapered bottom, this taper here is usually the right size for, even though I haven't drawn it the right size, that's usually the right size when it comes to faceted stones. So that is what I would use. Cabochons, you can then perhaps even want to grind off that bottom half if you wanted to, or you can just simply get cylinder burrs, which are just simply cylinders like this, and then you've got, sometimes the teeth go diagonally that way, if you want a flat bottom to your hole. And that would be a cylinder burr. Cylinder, I'll draw that down there, and these are setting burrs. And that would be that. That would be the ideal size. But it is interesting. I think you'd have to make it first and then see what sort of shrinkage you're going to get. So then when you come to make it again using wax, or using the wax to make a master, from the master to make a mold, from the mold to make the wax, from the wax to the lost wax casting, there's going to be an element of shrinkage that would be sort of very unique to you, and then you can work out exactly what the percentage of shrinkage is to allow then for the first stage. So say you want to make a 6mm hole and the shrinkage is 20%, you add 20% to that 6mm, which is a fifth, which would be a millimetre, to pass basically like a 7mm hole to end up with a 6mm hole by the end of it. I think that's what you meant. Okay, please, Louise, maybe have the next question.
Yes, of course. Yes, author is asking, how do you sharpen beading tools with or without flex shaft? Do I need to polish them? I have a disc with pins to sharpen the tools, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, good question, because I found my little plate the other day. Beading tools will wear. They're quite soft on the tips and they will wear. And I've got two tools here. One is a really cheap one. One is a really expensive one, but it does sort of pay in the long run. So what have we got? We've got these. This is called some fions. I think it's F-I-O-N-S, and it is a little strip. And within the strip here, we've got some tiny, tiny little balls. You can just about see them just poking up above, and these little balls here are hardened steel and they are in various sizes. I was so organized I don't even have any beading tools up here at the moment. So what you would do, you would tidy up your beading tool. You would get a buff stick on the side, you would tidy up the outside of your beading tool. In fact, I can draw it. Okay, so you understand what cylinder bows are. Cool. Okay, so you have your beading tool, and so it comes down like this, and there's a flat there. And what happens, there's obviously, let's make that a bit bigger, there's your flat, and obviously it is that shape inside, like a little semicircle, a little sphere on the inside. Yep, just like this. And what happens when you use it, the edges around here will sometimes flare a little bit and they'll get a bit raggedy and a bit rough, that sort of thing. So then you get a buff stick just to tidy up the outside, okay? So the outside now is nice and smooth. Then you would put a buff stick across the bottom here to make sure that that bottom is nice as well. Now, it depends now on your beading tool. What I would do then is get my fions. Some people say hammer, I wouldn't hammer. I would then get my little bar, which is like this, and on my bar you've got these little balls that are coming up that look something like this. Okay, and they all come in different sizes and they're all getting bigger and bigger as you go along. So that's sort of an enlarged view. Then you get your beading tool, you get the corresponding to what you think is the right size hole across here to the right size ball, put it on top of the tool, and you just gently move it around by hand over on the tool. Being careful not to push too far side to side because they're very, very brittle, and you will then get a nice shine on the inside of your beading tool. All right, that's the one way. The second way is you would use something like a carbide ball burr. Let me come back on this now. And you do exactly the same to the beading tool as we got here. Then you would get your flex shaft or your pendant drill. I know you said you don't have one, but if you did have one, you can get a little carbide ball burr, and you can spin that ball burr, or even perhaps put this beading tool in your flex shaft and hold on to the burr, and you get the burr into that hole there, and that would produce a nice, neat, semicircular hole in the bottom of your beading tool. And alternatively, there is another device that I picked up not so long ago. What am I doing? Wrong one. There we go. Which is this little tool. Inside here, you've got a very, very small diamond tip. And the idea would be you would get your beading tool, and you can do this by hand, or you can actually do this with a flex shaft. You put your beading tool in here. Once you have obviously done everything to do with this and tidied this up, you would put your beading tool through, and it's not coming out because I haven't got a beading tool, and it will come out of the hole. Let me see if I can get it coming out. No, I can't. All right. Can I? No, I can't. So the idea is your beading tool will go through, it comes out, and it runs on the little diamond tip that is on there. You can turn it by hand and spin it, and the little diamond tip will actually cut a nice semicircular, hemispherical, no, it's not a dome, it's a concave on the inside of your beading tool. These though are well over £100. Whereas these little fions are about £10 or £15. I have found that one or two of these has actually snapped off as I've been using them. This little guy here is expensive, but you can do a lot of sharpening with this little particular tool. I don't know the exact name of this tool. It's a beading tool, sharpener, I know, and I can put down in the description who supplies it as well. But this is an awesome piece of equipment. It is very expensive. If you're doing the odd bit of sharpening, it's not going to be worth it. Buy a little set of fions like this. If you've got hundreds of beading tools and that's all you're doing all day long is just beading tools and you want to resharpen them, this little guy here is worth its weight in gold. It is expensive, but if you consider how long this lasts, considering how many beading tools you can sharpen, this is worth its weight in gold. And I will find out the name. It's on Instagram. It's on my Instagram. So if you're on my Instagram, Instagram is I know my name, @the_bench_UK. If you go to there, search on Instagram, and you will find the pictures of that and also the link to the guy who sells it. And I think GRS are going to be stocking this actually, so you may want to check out GRS's website as well. That's I think that's GRS Tools. The parent company is called Glendo, and they will be able to help you on there. Next question, please. Were you okay there, Louise? Thank you.
Fine, yeah,
Thank you for the towel. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Next question, please, Louise.
Trying to be discreet. Okay, Amanda is asking, can you tell me where to get a small crucible dish and adjustable handle like the one you have in an old video, please? And before you answer that, we owe everybody an apology because everybody has had notifications for 3:30. So everyone has been sat waiting.
Really? Oh, that was me. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
What? Pardon? Can you repeat that, please?
3:30. My fault.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what was the question? Sorry.
Sorry. Can you tell me where to get a small crucible dish with an adjustable handle like the one you have in an old video, please?
Okay. If you're in the UK, I know that Betts Metal Sales in Birmingham, and also I think Cooks and Precious Metals, cooksandgold.com, sell them, and I'm sure Rio Grande will sell them, and I'm sure Otto Fry will sell them, and I'm sure Guess Wine will sell them as well. It's just a very small, about 1.5 inch, 2-inch crucible with just the handle. I don't know about the little fly going around. I don't know about the other countries, but this country, sort yourself, Andrew. Cooks and Gold and Betts Metal Sales, if you're in the UK, they will sell them. Thank you. Okay, next.
This is steampunk ring. I'm so sorry, Scrap Over Engineering, I don't know your real name, but you were sent an email August the 1st about the steampunk ring.
Right, yes, I think I was, yes.
Have you received it?
I did.
It is on the list.
Right,
it's already on the list.
Bring it to my attention tonight when we're at home.
Okay.
And I will certainly have a look. I apologise. I did have one. I think I mentioned it last Monday to say that I did have an email about it, and I will get back to you. I do apologise for not getting back to you. It's been rather hectic, isn't it, Louise?
It's been busy, isn't it?
It has
been a very
really busy. So yeah, so this is Louise's start of her second week, and she did find it very enjoyable, but really tiring, didn't you?
It's new. It's not like a normal retail job, is it? Because of all the repairs, all the little findings and names for things, which I didn't really factor in. I thought it was just the glamorous job
of looking pretty in the shop.
Well, I thought it'd be in the shop. But there's a lot more to it. Yeah,
and obviously there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes.
And
Yeah, it's not.
So
I think people are quite surprised with what goes on behind the scenes. Not even with the shop downstairs, with the workshop and everything that comes in with the workshop. We still have watch repairers and stone merchants that we have to send goods to and forth and that sort of thing. And there's a lot that goes on. It's not just simply seeing to the customers, is it, that comes to the shop. And also with these question and answers, with At the Bench and with the online side of things and the e-commerce side of things, there's loads of things to do. So I think Louise has been pleasantly surprised, but absolutely shattered when it comes to the end of the day. She said, "This is not enough hours in the day."
I think it's just when you're learning things new all day, every day, it's tiring, isn't it? And then you go and do something like break the front window, get yourself into trouble.
Sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Right. Should we have the next question, please?
Yeah. Tanya has made a bracelet out of silver, not shaped it yet. Do I place some decorative parts onto it flat or once it's been soldered?
I think it just depends on what decorative parts you've put it on. If there's little balls, something like that, or perhaps some very small shapes, yes, I suppose you could put it on flat. If you happen to solder on perhaps large pieces, tubes for settings and that sort of thing, I would wait until it is completely round and then apply the decorations afterwards. If you're putting large pieces, so sandwiching two pieces together, and perhaps you do a nice little cutout design on top of like a back plate, I would do that as it's flat. That's going to be a lot easier, and then bend it round. But if you're I lost my pen now. There it is. If you have a flat sheet like that, and you've put on the top of here a setting, when you try and bend it round, you either bend it round and it'll do that because it's straight and you can't bend this, or if you do manage to bend this nice like this, what you're going to find is that the whole setting is going to be completely disformed and you won't be able to put any stone in it. So anything with stones like that, bend it round first like that, then you can solder your setting on top to put your stone in, and that'll be much better. Little granulation, we can always do it afterwards. In fact, granulation doesn't really matter. You can also put it on flat or straight, so it doesn't matter. Just depends on what you're putting on. Just think about the next step, because when you try and bend it around, you're going to have to hammer it, shape it. So if you put anything on the top that is delicate, you're going to have to hammer it, otherwise the bangle is not going to be able to bend around nicely. You're just going to get flats where those embellishments are because you can't really shape it. So just think ahead, think about what you're putting on, and then decide then what is best to do. Settings, anything like that, do it afterwards. That would be definitely my number one tip for that. But little embellishments, little granulation, doesn't really matter, to be honest, I don't think. Be easier to put it on afterwards because it's easier to shape it nice and evenly if the metal is of a uniform thickness. There we go. So don't forget, please, £2 to enter to win our shell pendant, which I don't have now. Here we go. If you want to enter to win, remember the shell pendant we did on our 12-hour live stream? Finally got it finished. Little sterling silver, finished and made up by me, cast live on the YouTube. You must probably see it. Yeah, £2, links on the screen. That's all we're asking for you, and then your names will go into a draw, one lucky person, and we will post it anywhere throughout the whole wide world. Perhaps we'll put a few little goodies in there for you as well. Okay, Louise, next question, please.
When are we closing this competition?
When do you want to?
I don't know.
Do you know? No. End of the week?
Be
Weekend?
nice to wrap it all up and get
Sunday?
it all sent off, won't it? And
should we say Sunday?
Yes.
Sunday, and then we can get the emails out to everybody then who contacted us regarding the competitions on the 12-hour. And I'll give them time as well to donate. Okay. Yeah. Should we say Sunday then?
Yes.
I'm just going to pop it in her diary again now.
Well, we say these things and then we forget, don't we, guys? What's that?
We have to.
Sunday.
Yes.
That means we've got to. Right. Okay.
Okay. So don't forget, closing on tonight is the focus group for our courses. The filming is going really great. We got so much filming to do. I just can't believe how many hours of films are going to go into what we're doing. It's a phenomenal amount. We're not skipping, we're not just forgetting to do things. Everything is absolutely brilliant, and we're going to be teaching you the techniques right from the start, which is the most important fundamental thing to learn when you want to start making jewellery. Okay, next question please, Louise.
Okay, Gordo is asking, can you go over the method of fusing a ring shank instead of conventional soldering? Will this work on sterling silver?
Yes, it will. It's not an alarm, Gillian. It's the, it's the, what are they called? Forklift trucks outside. There's a builder's merchant sort of towards the back of us, and that's their reversing. So that's what you can hear. We have the window open because it is absolutely baking hot in here. So fusing. It's a technique that is really good for you to practice, and we use it a lot when it comes to platinum work. You don't like to use a solder when it comes to platinum, because the solder, you'll see the solder will be dragged out when you're polishing it. So fusing is a technique that we often use when it comes to platinum, and you can do it with gold, you can do it with silver. The best thing about it is there is no solder joint, so you won't get any indication, or the solder won't be discoloring because there's no solder. The solder won't be dragged out when you're polishing. There's no solder. So what I would do is you make up your ring shank, okay? So your ring shank is, I'm going to do this in 3 dimensions. So your ring shank is looking something like that, okay? So that is your ring shank. Can we see that? Like that. There we go, like that. Okay, so that is your ring shank, and you now have put your ring shank together absolutely perfectly. Okay, you have to make sure that that this join that you are coming together. It's your canistella, is it?
I should be advertising, shouldn't I?
Ooh, other brands are available. So you've got your seam in the ring. It's got to be a perfect one. It's got to be absolutely parallel. There must be no daylight coming through this at all, okay? You pass your saw blade through it, or you double over a piece of emery paper, you put it between the joints and you rub back and forth. But this joint has to be fabulous. Then you get a very, very thin sliver of metal, preferably the parent metal. So if this is platinum and perhaps you've cut a piece out and you're rejoining it, or you've made a ring shank and you've got a little bit on the end, you'd use a bit of the parent metal because you can be sure then the colour is going to match, and you would hammer it very, very thin, or pass it through your roller mill until the mills are close together and it is wafer thin. You then would put that, you'd open up the gap, you would put your sliver of metal in this gap, all right? So your bit of metal will sort of come around. How am I drawing this now? How am I drawing this? Like this? Like that? Mm-hmm. Yes, that's it, like that. Okay, so that bit of metal now is in there. Allow about 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters maximum on the outsides of all the edges. So that's a bit big there. Okay, so that's what you've got. Okay, then, and it only really works with a very high power, especially with platinum, with an oxygen and propane torch. You may be able to get away with these little torches with silver. You may be able to get away with it with gold. Platinum, you'd have to use oxygen and propane.
I'm glad you said that, because Julian just said, I thought you said not to use platinum.
Not to use platinum?
Yeah, that's what you said. That's what you'd said, not to use platinum.
No, I would use this method with platinum. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah? Sorry, Julian. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I would use it. I would definitely use this with platinum. I wouldn't use solder with platinum. I would use fusing with platinum. And if this is platinum, well then this would be platinum. If you're using it with gold, this little bit of metal that you put in here is the same metal as what you're using here. Then you get your flame. Your flame is over here. Then this is your flame here. And the idea is you melt this because it's very thin. And as you melt this, it'll melt and it'll fuse itself all around, and it'll fuse it, and this will fuse over the joint like that. So that's my fused bit of metal, all right? And that gets melted, and it melts onto the surface, and the whole thing melts, and there's no solder joint. Then once you've done that, then you get your buff stick, and you buff all that excess fused metal away till you come back to the nice even shape, and you will get then a ring with no solder joint, no joint at all. Yep, so I would definitely do that with platinum. Oxygen and propane torch is a must. You can do it with silver, you can do it with gold. These little torches may be just about right, although I've never really tried it with those torches. But the idea is that sliver is so thin, it'll melt quite easily, and it will melt then onto and into the surrounding metal there. So there's no solder, it's the same metal, and it'll fuse and it'll melt together and fuse together. And when you buff it and polish it, there's no solder seam, you'll get an absolutely gorgeous ring with no seam. And when you come to polish it, the polish doesn't drag out the solder because the solder is softer, and you won't get any marks at all. Yes, Louise, I think that's about it. Next question, please, Louise. And Gillian, if I misled you in any way, just let me know in the chat, and I can go back over if I did say something wrong. I do apologise. Okay, next question, please, Louise.
Right, okay. Romy is asking, what do you do when you're melting quicker than your metal because it's so hot?
Say that again, sorry.
Oh, I think it was like a, yeah. Actually, I can answer this one.
Go on,
what do you do when you're melting quicker than your metal because it's so hot? I have ordered for Andrew from Amazon. You can get them from most chemists. So, cool patches.
Okay, yeah.
You haven't tried them out yet?
No, not yet.
And it's like a heat patch, but it's cold. And I think you buy them for like little kids when they've got temperatures or migraine sufferers. And you put them in the fridge and you just slap them on your forehead, and they're kind of self-adhesive, and they last for 8 hours and cool you down.
Okay, that's cool.
She might look a bit daft with a big patch on your forehead, but yeah.
Yet to try them out.
Yes.
I'll certainly let you know how it goes. But yeah, but thank you very much for that.
Very
Yet to try.
welcome.
I think I couldn't sleep the other night and I kept her awake. That's the only reason. All right, next question, please.
Lorraine is asking, I have solder-filled wire, but it's not soldering smoothly during a fusing process. Do I still need to solder then while making rings come together?
I think if you're using solder-filled, I don't think I would want to fuse, because you've got another metal in the mix, so to speak. So I would think I would solder when it comes to a gold-filled, because it is another metal with gold, and that could be the reason why is causing a problem. And because fusing really should be all the same metal all the way through, and not filled. So I think the problem is solder it, don't fuse it. If anybody else has fused gold filled, please let me know, but I don't think it's really going to be appropriate. Solder it, much better. Just reading some of the comments that are coming in. All right, next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Elias is asking, I would love some tips on how to set a straight crystal into a bezel-like cap for a simple pendant. Every time I needed to use glue because the crystal would not hold, only by pushing silver onto it. Thank you.
Okay, so the problem why the cement is not grabbing onto the crystal is most likely the crystal is so smooth, and the cement or the glue needs a bit of a key, needs something to bite onto the crystal. If the crystal is perfectly smooth, you've got to try and roughen it up a little bit, just on the end. If you've got a cap, let me see if I can draw this. Let me just do a square because it's going to be easier for me to do this. So there's a cap like that. Ish, yes, like that. And you've got your crystal then that is like this, and this is perfectly, beautifully shiny, okay? You then would put some cement in the bottom here, or some glue, and also glue perhaps towards the bottom edge, not towards the top, but towards the bottom. Then what I would do is perhaps get like a diamond file or a carborundum stone, or a stone burst, something like that, something that's going to be harder than the crystal itself. And I would roughen up all this area here, and also the face underneath I would roughen up, So then when you squish this into the cap, the glue will have something to bite onto. And that's going to be the best way to keep it. And we used to do this quite often many years ago when we used to, as you say, put caps onto crystals. But then people do say, well, then you shouldn't, and they're making a hell of a noise, aren't they? People do say that you shouldn't really put caps over the ends of crystals because it stops the flow of energy. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But caps, glue, roughen up the crystal, you should be good to go with that. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Jessica has just started soldering with gold fill wire and yellow silver chips for solder. After pickling, the solder is copper toned. Could this be a result of overheating, or does it just need to be polished? Also, how long should my jewellery stay in, respectively, the pickle solution and the quench?
Okay, so perhaps the problem that you're getting is your gold-filled wire may be copper on the inside, and then if that is the case and it is going into your pickle pot, perhaps the copper is leaching out, and perhaps then the pickle solution is picking up some of that copper in a solution. Perhaps the metal gold-filled wire is to do with like a base metal or steel, and that would be devastation then to your pickle, because then that would immediately then coat anything else that goes in it, and it will coat it copper, which could be the reason why your bit of solder and so forth is getting a bit copper coloured. It's no big bother, no big deal. All you got to do is perhaps buff it with a buff stick, with an emery stick, and then repolish it, and it'll be fine. You can even just get like a flex shaft or a Dremel on the surface just to polish up that little bit of metal, and it'll come back fine. It's only a very, very, very thin sort of plating upon the surface, and you should be fine. Yeah, and I think that would help you so much better is by doing it that way. Just looking at the questions. You could grow a fringe over the patch. What, with my hair, I don't have much.
It'll be the winter by the time. You have a hot patch
I'll start now for next winter, is it?
For next summer, yeah.
My hair's thinning. Yeah, okay, thank you. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Mike is asking, with the price of silver, how can we afford to sell silver jewellery now and keep it affordable?
Okay, because this is quite an interesting question.
Yeah.
We put a little blog together on andrewberry.com. andrewberry.com, we put a little bit of a blog post together about the price of gold and the price of silver going up. The thing is, you're going to be in the same boat as the next person making something. So you all are going to be together having prices that are going to be reflecting upon the day-to-day price of metals. Now, there are several ways around this. You can use your own silver scrap that you've kept back, or that you've cut off, go through your scrap box, go through your old bits of metal, and perhaps try and recycle and reuse those bits of silver, perhaps melt them down and make some pieces from that melted recycled silver. Then you can advertise it as eco silver and recycled silver, which is really popular at the moment. If you've got a rolling mill, you can roll it down into sheet. If you've got draw plates or whatever, you can draw it down into wire and so forth. So by reusing your old silver, you can obviously keep the prices down. The other way is don't make anything and just don't sell anything at the moment. Okay, if you have bought your silver at the old price, perhaps then keep it at that old price, but bearing in mind, if you do sell the ring that may have cost you $12 2 months ago, it may cost you $14 to sell. So this is something that you're going to have to think about. So there's no best way of doing it, because everybody's going to be in the same boat. At the moment with our store here, everything that is in the store, we're going to keep at the price that it is. Even though the price of precious metals has soared over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we're keeping it at the old price. But if we do sell it now and we have to replace it, we have to replace it at the higher price, then the price that goes on in the shop has to reflect that higher price. So we're going to keep our prices basically as what they were and not inflate them, because there's some retailers out there thinking, my goodness me, price of gold's gone up 20%, we're going to put our price up 20% in the shop. It's bad practice, so we're going to leave it as it is. And I think trying to recycle your silver is going to be your best bet to keep your prices low. But everyone's in the same boat. If we buy now from our manufacturers, then we're going to be paying at that higher price, and then when the market drops, we're stuck really with that higher price item. So we're sort of hanging off buying any stock at the moment because it is so expensive.
But then if you look at it a few months into the future, should we be increasing the prices now? Because when we replace that stock, oh, mind you, yeah, we'll still have to charge the higher price for it, but then people won't want to pay it.
It's awkward, isn't it? This is why we're not. We need.
At least people understand now. Consumers and you know, people coming into the shop understand why it's.
Yeah, why the prices are what they are.
Yeah.
So we've been asked quite a few times for like gold lockets and gold chains over the past week or so, and we're saying to customers, we've been honest with them, it's the wrong time at the moment to buy, because if we have to buy that stock in, it's going to be really high, and if they can wait perhaps a week or 2 weeks or a month, the price will come down hopefully a little bit lower, and then we won't have to charge as much. And it seems silly trying to stock your shop with metal at the high price when it's going to drop at some stage, and then you're going to be left with stock of a high price than your next door neighbour who's bought it in at the lower price, who can sell it for a lot cheaper. So what was the question? How can I? How can you avoid? You can't.
How can you
keep the prices down? Keep thinking. Perhaps just try and reduce your prices as best you can. Recycle, and think of ways to reduce the amount of labour when it comes to making something. Perhaps try and make something that's automated. Try and make something perhaps that's been stamped instead of engraved by hand. Shape something with a hydraulic press if you've got it, as opposed to hammering that by hand. All these little labour-saving tips is going to help reduce the price overall, even though the precious metal price may be quite high. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Donna is asking, how do you select your tutorials where you can see them in the sequence in which they were filmed? Is there any way?
Say that again,
How do you select your tutorials where you can see them in the sequence in which they were filmed?
Oh, on At the Bench, yeah?
I guess so,
so basically I think the with At the Bench, our online training website, on the bottom there, we don't necessarily release all the parts of the film in one go. We sort of do them every week as we go on. And if you come to the end of a project, well then that project will have all the sequence numbers underneath the films relating to the sequence of that particular film. Obviously part 1 is the beginning, part 6 or part 10 is the end, so forth. So if at the moment you're watching a film like The Morning Ring with the teeth, it hasn't finished yet. So we've got about 5 or 6 parts, and we've got, I think there's 1 part to come that should be then at the end of this week. So that's the reason why. Some films we finished, a couple of ongoing films, and what you'll see is on At the Bench is the to come, and it'll have the films yet to come, so you know that that series has not finished, and over the next week or so, that film then will come up and be live, and that then should be the end of the series. I think that's what the lady means.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next question please, Louise.
Sorry, I think a wasp just came in. No, it's a flight. Sorry. Well, what's the best way to solder thin wire and granules to a plate?
Best way to think would be to sweat solder. What I would do, if you've got a plate, that's like this and you want to put little granules on it, get yourself a little ball burr in a Dremel or a flex shaft, and just make little divots where your little granules are going to go. And then what you want to do is then put a little dab of flux in those little divots, put a small little bit of solder in there as well. There's your bits of solder. Heat it up until the solder just melts in those little divots, and then when you come along with your little granules, you can just rest your granules on top of those little divots like that, heat up the whole piece, and then when the piece is the right temperature, don't put your flame on your little balls, because your little balls are going to melt. Put the flame on the big, thank you Louise, put your microphone's on, put the flame on the plate, and when the plate is the right temperature, the plate will transfer the heat through to the balls, and a little bit of solder will just melt, and your balls will drop into the little and you also drop just into the little divots, and that's the best way to put little balls on. If you're trying to do wire, what I'd be inclined to do is you have your little piece of wire like this. I would flux your wire, then I would get a little bit of solder and put some little pallions on the solder on the wire, heat the wire up until the solder melts along the wire, then lay the wire out on your sheet like that, flux it all, heat up the sheet, and then when the sheet's at the right temperature, the solder will flow from the wire onto the sheet, and that's the best way you're going to get a fantastic solder joint. If you come along and put the wire on top and you put your little bit of solder here, little bit of solder here, and so forth, or if you do it that way, when the solder melts, you'll be left with a little shadow of where that solder melted, and that's really, really unsightly. A lot of books tell you to do it this way. It's the most unsightliest way going, but try and put the solder on the wire so then the solder then won't spread upon the piece. Finished? Yes. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Johan is asking, how do you cut a mould from graphite? Is it possible without a CNC?
I would have thought so, because I think you can use some burrs. I don't have any experience making moulds from graphite. I'm sure the mould won't be able to be used an awful lot because the graphite, I think, should deteriorate, but you could use a burr, you can use some, say, stone setting burrs, some grinding wheels, some heatless wheels as well, anything like that, different shaped burrs, ball burrs, straight sided setting burrs, cylinder burrs, and I'm sure you can even get some gravers if you want to grave a pattern into the crucible as well. I've no real experience, but I know it is soft enough to be able to do that. So yes, anything that can scratch and make a mark in this graphite, you can use to make a mold. So there's no real other way that I know of that that you can do it, I don't think. Okay, not long to go. We did start a little bit late. I do apologize. So I think we're going to continue for about another 5 minutes. I think that'd be the best thing to do. I'm tapping away there, Louise. Victor said, I also want to practice the saw carving. I get the patterns from another range. Yes, this is awesome. Cool. Thank you, David. Thank you. Okay, please, Louise, maybe have the next question.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't expect you to ask me for another one.
We've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes of questions.
It's just leaping about again.
But thank you everybody coming on who is donating £2 towards our little shell pendant that we cast on our 12-hour. It's a little shell pendant. We cast it live on our 12-hour session that we did on live stream on YouTube. How long ago? It's about 3 months ago now, 2.5 months ago. This is a little shell. We cast it live. We raised a lot of money for Unicef at the time, and we want to raise a little bit more. All we're doing is asking you to donate £2 to be entered into the little prize draw to win that little shell pendant. It's on an 18-inch chain, sterling silver. We'll post it out to anywhere in the whole wide world completely free of charge. And all we want from you is a £2 donation to paypal.me/Andrew V. Berry. Louise has been putting it in the chat as we've been going along. That's all we need is £2 to be entered into a draw to win, and that'll go on until Sunday of this week. So thank you very much for everybody who's entered our raffle so far, and my watch hasn't stopped and buzzing, so thank you to everybody who's been donating so far. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Trevor is asking, what is the best way to resize a ring that is an 8mm wide band of around 0.7mm thick silver? There is an engraved pattern on half of the perimeter.
So this is quite a thin little bit of metal, isn't it? Your best bet would be to warm up the band, and if you warm up the band, was it silver? Yeah, is it silver, Louise?
Silver, yes.
Yeah. So the thing to do is to warm up the band slightly, and as you do that, any solder joint will appear across the ring. If that is the case, that is where you need to cut. Now, if that is exactly over some engraving, you can't cut through that, and I would not even consider cutting through any engraving or any pattern like that. I'd always try and cut where there is no pattern, when there is no engraving. So if that's the case, cut on the opposite side to where there is no engraving and no pattern. If you can possibly help it cut through the joint. Then I would open up the band, get a piece of metal. Now the piece of metal that needs to go into this band has to be thicker than what the metal is, because you're never going to get 0.7 millimeter ring and 0.7 millimeter piece of metal to be soldered on exactly right. You're never going to do it. Perhaps I would have something like perhaps a 1 millimeter, 1.2, 1.3 millimeter wide bit of silver, so then we can solder that on quite nicely. What I would perhaps do is shape it to the right size first. Now, there are several ways you can actually do this. So you would have the ring coming around like that. You would cut it, you would open it up until you have like a gap in the ring like this. So that's the gap we've got there. Get your piece of metal. It has to be slightly wider also than this band itself. So here's the edge around here. So if you put your bit of metal in, the bit of metal has to be wider because then you can file it back. Has to be thicker than the parent metal here, then you can file it back. Several ways you can do it. You can then add your bit of metal so it comes off straight like that. Okay, so you soldered this seam. So this is the piece of metal you're putting into place. It's a little bit thicker than the piece of metal that you put on. Then you can bend it around, then you can cut it and solder it into place. So there's that way you can do it. Or you can get a piece of metal that is curved already, and you can curve that and then you can put that into place. It's too thin to consider doing a dovetail joint, because sometimes you can put, where the metal comes along, you can put a bit of a dovetail joint here, and the bit of metal then that comes onto the side here will be that shape. That's the strongest way, so, but we're not bothered by that. It's too thin. And put that into place. What I would use then is a pair of head and shank tweezers, which look something like this here. All right, like this. And this little curved part here will help keep this part in place on here, or just solder the one join here first. But if you make it thicker and wider than what the actual ring is, it allows you then to file back to the correct thickness and the correct width without sort of worrying. If you had this bit of metal here going to this little bit of metal here of exactly the same width and thickness, a slight deviation means you've got to file it, and that bit of metal is going to become a lot thinner. So make it thicker, make it wider, and you can file it to the correct shape, and that would be the best way to resize it. Should we have another question, please, Louise?
Yes. Janet was asking about the weekend workshop.
Yes. What was she asking?
Just details.
Details. Okay, so this is something that that I had an idea of several months ago, and we love doing these question and answers. We love doing our 12-hour, and Louise and I love chatting about all sorts of things. And because Louise is new to the trade, don't mind me saying that to you.
Oh.
And because Louise is new to the trade, I thought, well, perhaps we can do something on like an apprentice, and I can teach Louise how to make jewellery and how to form jewellery, how to do all things to do with jewellery. And I thought of doing that, but then I thought, well, why not incorporate that into something like a weekend workshop? And it's going to be over initially 6 episodes, half an hour each. And what we're going to be doing is quickly showing you techniques and demonstrations here at the bench, whether it be things like cuttlefish casting or soldering, forming, using Durston's bangle forming die set, using shank benders and so forth. Different techniques using bits of equipment, and teaching Louise what these bits of equipment do, and also teaching Louise on how to make jewellery. And I thought we could put this together in quite a fun way, but also we would have perhaps visits to other places, perhaps visits to certain factories, perhaps even visits to your workshop, perhaps. For instance, we can have like a 10-minute segment where we go to your workshop and you show us your bits and pieces that you're making, a certain technique where you get your inspiration from, that sort of thing. Because Louise and I would love a day out coming to see your workshop, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
It'd be really nice, wouldn't it? It'd be really
yeah.
good. Make sure you have plenty of tea and biscuits.
And social distance at the moment.
And social distancing at the moment, exactly right. And we will come along to you, and that'll be like perhaps a 10-minute segment within the show. Louise and I are planning on going to some of the trade shows next year, things like Italy, New York, and Vegas, and perhaps we can sort of vlog and do a 10-15-minute segment taking you across to the shows and showing you what the shows are all about. So it's going to be more like like a Sunday morning sort of chat, projects, techniques, and that sort of thing. And we thought that'd be a really fun way of putting it together into like a weekend workshop, instead of just saying, well, this is how you do this is how you make it, like an apprentice and master and that sort of thing. So that's what we thought. And Louise is very photogenic, as you can see. She likes to have a good laugh. We have a good laugh here when we're doing things. And that's the whole idea. 30 minutes, as you say, 30 minutes, Julian, is not too long. It's not going to get boring. It's going to be quick, short, little things, and we think it's going to be really fun. We're also getting other manufacturers involved with this as well. So whether perhaps we can do some adverts on new tools, show new products, show stones that are coming onto the market, perhaps a certain company has produced a certain line that may be interesting to you guys, we can get that and we can show you and so forth. That is the whole idea. It's going to be real fun. We've done a few little things so far, just sort of putting together like a little practice program to see how things are going to go, and we think it's going to be really good fun. It's going to be a lot of laughter, I know that for certain. So that's what the weekend workshop is all about. Can we have one more question? Come over to Arizona, Mike. Tom, Mike, I'd never know. Tom. Thank you, Tom. Come over to Arizona. It's a little bit hot, but perhaps if we go over to Vegas, perhaps Arizona is not far, I think. I don't know. I'm hopeless at my geography. Come to Atlanta. Whatever. World Tour. At the Bench. World Tour. Sounds good, doesn't it? Next question, please, Louise.
Kevin is asking, what is best melt 35 gram silver in furnace or with oxypropane?
Ooh, right, okay. 35 grams, you can do both. No, just move on. You can do it whichever way you want. If you have a furnace, it's so much easier. Desktop furnace, you got your graphite crucible, you put your metal in it, you turn it on, half an hour later it's molten. It's a no-brainer. It's so simple, but those bits of machinery are pretty expensive if you're doing just the odd amount of melting down. Or you can use your oxygen and propane, and you can do that quite easily. What I would do is get one of the multi-tip burner. If you're using a Smith's little torch, you can get that, and that will melt down the silver really quickly. I'm going to be doing a little bit of casting very shortly when we come off air, because I have those acorns that should be pretty much ready to be cast in about 10-15 minutes. So we're going to have another few more minutes of this, then Louise and I are going to go into the other room, and she's going to help me cast these acorns.
What?
Yeah, we're not going home yet. We've still got work to do. Come on. So that's what we're going to do. Go onto our Instagram page and you'll be able to see the step-by-step process that we've been doing throughout the whole day as well. And also, we got this gorgeous oak tree. It's got an oak tree that's got a preservation order on it in our garden. It's absolutely huge. We were sat out there last night. There were squirrels in the tree dropping their nuts onto the greenhouse, the acorns onto the greenhouse. And we thought, let's go and have a look and see what's hitting the greenhouse. And there's these gorgeous little baby acorns. We thought, what a fantastic idea to get them cast. And that's what we've been doing today.
So we can thank the squirrels for the latest project.
For the latest project that is on Instagram at the moment.
Throwing the nuts on the greenhouse.
All right. Yes. So everyone wants us to come to America. Yeah, we will. Canada, yes. Toronto. I have relations in Canada. So you've got Toronto and Toronto. If you're looking at the map and you've got Toronto, if you go east and down south, that's southeast, just on the border down there on the Lake Ontario, I think it is. I have cousins down there and my aunties down there as well. So yeah, perhaps a trip to Canada would be absolutely awesome. You'd love it, Louise. You'd absolutely love it.
I would.
We've got the CN Tower.
We're going anywhere now. We've been anywhere in what? 4 months, 6 months.
We go to CN Tower, we do Niagara Falls, we do all the torchy things. It's going to be lush. Okay, one last question, I think, Louise, before we finish.
Mike is asking, will the net casting be on Facebook? Doesn't have Insta.
Yeah,
I'll put
it on Facebook. I think I may have put it on At The Bench's Facebook. I think I did.
Fab.
Yes, so yes, it will be. It will be. Okay, next question.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't have a question ready. I do apologise.
I've been to Ottawa, Mark. I've been to Ottawa. I've seen the Parliament buildings and like their trooping of the colour as well many years ago. So yeah, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous place to go, Ottawa. I love it. One last question,
okay.
Louise.
Conqueror, I'm planning to melt some platinum and make jewellery. Can you recommend a melting system?
My goodness
can't
me.
be done.
Yes.
Am I right?
It can be done.
But not very easily.
Not very easily. You need to have ceramic crucibles. You need to have so much heat to do it.
What torch and crucible should I use? Will Smith's torch.
Not Will Smith.
Not what I was going to say. Yeah.
But
Will Smith's torch.
Smith's torch.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. But it'll only melt very small amounts.
Do the job for me.
Sorry?
Will Smith's torch.
Will Smith's torch work? Yes, it will. A Smith's torch will work. It's going to need a lot of heat. You're going to need some a ceramic crucible. You must not put any flux or any borax or anything like that on it, but you can melt it just about. You do need a lot of heat to melt platinum. So good luck with that. You sometimes may need to use a hotter torch or perhaps a torch with a larger flame to be able to melt it. So yeah, I have only melted small amounts of platinum, but nothing big at all. I don't have the necessary equipment for that, so I do apologise for that. Okay, Will might have a torch, yeah. Okay, anything else? A truckload of acorns. So glad you were casting one because I was thinking about doing them. Yes, we're going to have a go now at casting now very, very shortly. So hopefully it's going to work. We also have to make sure that we're going to use the centrifugal casting machine.
Okay.
We do have the vacuum casting machine, but what we're going to do is turn the vacuum casting machine on, and we're going to turn the flask upside down so the holes at the bottom, so hopefully that will suck out any ash that is residue within the mould.
So you waxed them up yet?
Yeah, I did that this morning.
Oh, right, okay.
Remember,
didn't realise we were at that stage.
Yeah, I waxed.
So we can actually...
Yeah, because I waxed up. I did the sprue this morning. You obviously haven't been looking at my Instagram.
I've been busy working downstairs.
So I've been progressing. I did the sprue this morning. We weighed it. It weighs 4.5 grams in silver. We've got just over 46 grams in silver now. We're going to melt down. We've got the wax. We've done the wax. We've burnt out the wax, and hopefully now it's burnt out the acorns as well. We're going to put it, and it's going to suck out any residue ash, and we're going to cast it. And not stick around, but look on Facebook, and also look on our Instagram page @_the_bench_UK, and that means then you'll be able to see if our acorns have worked. And we've done it with a cup and the acorn itself separate, and we've also done them together so we can sort of play around. Yes, Louise?
I was just going to say, David's come on, he's accidentally stumbled upon today's webcast, so he's new, and he said, what about a brass seashell pins? We are actually raffling a seashell that we cast, and you can actually see it. Yeah. Oh, you can see it here. Yeah, you've got it here.
Yes.
So this is one we did on a 12-hour live webcast back in May. Was it May?
Yeah, June.
Was it? Oh, okay, May, June.
June, yeah. Yes.
So yeah, that's the cast seashell.
So we cast this live. We did a live demonstration on Delft clay casting, and we had a little shell that we picked up on the Welsh beaches. I think Louise picked it up on the Welsh beaches. We cast that very quickly on our 12-hour, and the idea is we raised money for Unicef, and £2 buys you like a little raffle ticket to be able to win that little shell. It's on a nice sterling silver 18-inch chain, and we'll post it anywhere in the whole wide world. Louise has been putting some links up there. £2 is all we really require. We're trying to raise as much more money for Unicef as we possibly can. It's going to be live now until Sunday night.
Yeah.
So get your £2 in. What chain is it on? It's on an 18-inch. In fact, I'll put whatever chain. If you want a 20-inch chain, I'll put a 20-inch chain. If you win it, if you want a 24-inch chain, I'll put whatever you want on it. I'm that kind of guy. Whatever you want. And don't forget...
Which beach did, was it
Newquay?
Newquay in West Wales, yes.
Yeah.
One of our gorgeous beaches in West Wales. We have lots of beaches in Wales, don't we? Some are nice, some are not so nice. But this was from one of the nicer beaches.
Yes, absolutely gorgeous. We picked it up, it looked an absolutely fabulous, fabulous specimen, and we thought, what a brilliant idea, we better cast it, and we can cast it in Delft clay, which is what we did.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Okay, thank you, David, for coming on. Glad you joined us. Do appreciate it. Stick around for these question and answers. We do them now every Monday at 4 o'clock. I do apologise if I said 3:30. I do apologise, it was 4 o'clock. I'm sorry.
We have to fix that for next time.
It's my fault. I clicked 3:30. I forgot. So it was my fault. I do apologise. It was my fault.
3 times you said it now.
3 times it was my fault. Thank you. So there we go. David, if you want to ask any questions, just come on. So like 10 minutes before time. If you want to ask a question, put it in the chat box. We will try and get through as many as we possibly can. Obviously, we can't get through to everybody's questions, and I do apologise for that. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for today. Anything else you want to say, Louise, at all?
No, I don't think so.
Everybody, so thank you all very much. Do you guys live on the west side of England? Okay, so yes, because the west side of England, then you've got an extra little sticky out bit is Wales. So if you get like the UK, which is shaped like...
oh, come on, let's see your geography.
Oh,
This ought to be good.
So we've got, this is the south coast. Here's the Isle of Wight. This is the south coast that goes to, I've done this far too big. It comes up like this here. It comes out like this around here, and then it goes up. Scotland up there.
What is that?
Scotland goes up, yeah. So this is London by here. Don't.
It's like a witch.
Scotland goes up, okay? So this is the UK, that's London. Okay, this then is Wales. This is Wales, okay? This is where we are, and we're by here.
And if anybody knows where Wales is based on that diagram, I'll cast them a pendant myself.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. We are going to go and do some casting. Now we're going to cast this shit. I ran out of room. I should have started a lot smaller and turned the board around, something like that. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Apologise for the sound that was coming from the window over there. We had the window open, it's just so hot, and that was the builder's yards next door. 1500 bell. Wow, for sure. That's amazing if you can trace back to the 1500s. Amazing. Everybody, so thank you very much. Andrew, the back make no, don't even go there. You need wine after the heat. We need a cold beer, but we drank them all yesterday.
No, we didn't.
We got beers in the fridge.
We got beers in the
Yes. Thank you all, everybody, for coming on. Really do appreciate it, you sticking with us today. Join us again next week, the 17th of August at 4 o'clock, Monday, for more question and answers. In the meantime, please donate £2 to win yourself the little silver shell pendant we've been chatting on about. We're going to put it down in the description down below as well, the little link. No, it's not. What is it? It's paypal.me/Andrew V. Berry. Come along to that little page, donate your £2, and you could be within a chance of winning the pendant. That's going to go on until Sunday. Thank you all so very much indeed to everybody who's come on today. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. We started a bit late, and we will now go and have a nice cold beer. But first, we have to cast those acorns. So have a look on Instagram and Facebook later on this evening. You'll see the raw castings as they come out. And if I can get Louise to film me casting it centrifugally, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really,
It frightens me, that centrifuge.
It's good, isn't it? I love it. I love the...
spin off into my face or something.
I love the excitement. We're going to do that now. Stick around on Facebook and you'll be able to see some of the cast-in pictures and so forth that I'll put on a little bit later. So thank you all very much, everybody, for coming on. Do appreciate it. Anything else you want to say, Louise?
No, thank you for joining us, guys. See you next week.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. We will see you all next week. That's about it. Don't want to go. But anyway, we're going to have a cold beer and a cold glass of wine in the summer house. Take care, everybody. Take care. We will see you soon. Bye.